Good morning, everybody. So Alexis has been asking for some mullein so we can make some mullein tea. It's a plant that's native to Northern Africa, Asia, and Europe. And it was brought over here in America in the 1700s as actually a fish poison, but it also has medicinal purposes or properties to it. Antibacterial, anti-inflammatory properties, stuff of that nature. It's supposed to be really good for the lungs. And so I am out of dried mullein, and today Chloe and I are going to walk, it's about a half mile to this old home site. And at this old home site there is a lot of mullein growing. The home site no longer exists. All that's left is a couple of fruit trees and a decent sized meadow. Within that meadow the mullein is just growing everywhere. So today I'm going to take a pocket knife, a couple of bags, and I'm going to go collect the leaves. And then later today, then I'll dehydrate it. But right now in the dehydrator I have a bunch of basil. Because tomorrow we have a cold front coming in. It's going to be like 37 degrees Fahrenheit. And basil's not going to hold up to that. So I went ahead and took all the leaves off the basil, got it in the dehydrator. After that's done, then I'll put the mullein in and dehydrate it, and it'll be ready to crush up and be ready to make into tea. So anyways, let's go. Are you excited to go, Chloe? Oh, you want to go? Let's go. I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, but that right there is a buck scrape. And there is several of them all the way down that tree line there. Some that are pretty darn big. My trail camera has been picking up some pretty decent bucks this year. Just jumped a deer a little bit ago. Took off running through the thick woods. There's for sure enough hog sign. That's where they roll around the mud down by the lake. Then they come up here and rub their bellies against the oak trees. Smear that mud all over the bark. Alright, I'm coming up onto the old home site. I'm already starting to see mullein just growing everywhere out here. Just sprouting up all over the place. But on over where there was a little pasture, the mullein plants are much bigger, and so I'm going to go over there and collect from those. The reason I'm doing it today is we got a cold front coming in, and it's going to be in the 30s tomorrow, and I'm worried about the nutrients maybe getting pulled back down into the root system when that cold front hits. So I want to get them now. Dang, I've never seen the weeds so tall down here. There's a ton of butterflies though. But still yet, down in there amongst the weeds is the mullein. They're struggling to get enough sunlight, but there's still plenty that I can harvest the leaves. Oh, look at that. Huh. I think that's, it looks like sand plum, but my gosh, I've never seen a sand plum tree that big. Yeah, sand plum. That'd make really good jam, jellies, and wine. Good stuff. There's a bunch of them. And they're good and ripe too. I mean, they are ready. Ready to be crushed up and made into all kinds of stuff. Kind of makes me wish I'd brought a third container out here just to collect these. All right. I've got 2 tote bags of healthy looking leaves in here. Now I'm gonna bushwhack my way back through all these weeds, get over there closer to the lake shore, and then work my way back to the house. There's a lot of tall grass. I hope I did not load up on a bunch of chiggers. Won't be long if I start itching real bad. I know I did. All right. Finally out of all that tall grass. Now, I'll see if I can find me a game trail that'll take me through these woods and back up to the house. Okay, so this is the mullein I collected yesterday. I've got 2 bags of this stuff, and it's going to take a little bit of time to process. Yesterday I was making some basil seasoning, so I had the dehydrator tied up. So As you saw yesterday, a lot of this mullein was dusty. Had a lot of pollen on it from other weeds that were hanging over the plant. And so we're just going to clean it today. Nothing fancy. Just get it good and wet. And this also makes sure you can inspect each leaf, make sure there's no insects, anything weird going on. Don't want to be dehydrating beetles in there. So get these cleaned off, get you a good handful of them, and then what I'm going to do is de-stem these. I'm going to cut the stem out. I've learned the hard way dehydrating these with the stem. It's a big old hassle. This stem right here has a pretty solid stem. It turns into like a rigid branch whenever you dehydrate it. So it's best to just cut it out. So I'll give these a good rinse. If I come across any that have brownish spots on the leaves, then I'll discard those. I want them to be just like this. Healthy looking leaf, plump, minus the dust. All right. I'll show you what the de-stemming looks like. Okay, de-stemming, very simple, very simple. Just lay out your leaf. Obviously this main stem is right there, easy to spot. Just slide your knife right down the edge of the stem, cut it off. What you have left is just the leaf. And that's what you want to dehydrate. The stem right here will turn into a very sharp, pokey stick. And you don't even want that in the bag. It's just a big old hassle. Just a little bit time consuming. It's definitely worth it whenever you get some of these stems all dehydrated and they wind up in a bag and they end up puncturing your bag and letting air in. You realize real quick it's definitely worth the effort to go ahead and de-stem these. Oh, look at that. Nothing to it. All right. Now these are cleaned, de-stemmed, and they're going to be ready for the dehydrator. Once that's cut up like that, de-stemmed, now it's ready to go into the dehydrator. Okay. Now, I don't worry about overlapping the leaves too much. With meat, I absolutely would never overlap the meat. But with the plant, the leaves, it doesn't seem to be a big deal if I overlap the leaves just a little bit. So that's on the timer for about 10 hours. Probably won't need nearly that long. All right, so I'm going to continue working. I got a bunch more mullein all washed up, ready to go. All I have to do is de-stem it. Then I'll put it on the rack. Put it on the next shelf in the dehydrator. After it dries, then I'll just keep on repeating the process. I'll bring you back whenever I've got one of the batches dried out and ready to go. Okay, this is my last batch of mullein here. I'll let this just set in there overnight. So I'm just going to put this on the counter, empty all those racks, and then I'll transfer this over to a 1 gallon Ziploc baggie. Alright, once you get all that out of the dehydrator, drop it down into the gallon Ziploc baggie. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to crush this up. Once it's crushed, then it's ready to be made into tea. Now I learned the hard way, make sure this bag is completely sealed up when you start to crush it. Mullein is very fuzzy, hairy, almost feels like felt. Only problem is, whenever you dehydrate this, all those little felt hairs turn very hard, very sharp. And if you start crushing this, the little fibers off of the leaves will
come up and you'll inhale them and get them on your lungs, and it's very irritating. It'll cause you to go into a coughing fit. All right, once that's done, you want to push some of that air out of there. Seal up your Ziploc baggie. That'll give you room to start crushing this all up. And that is all there is to it. So over the course of a couple of days, I've been able to make me quite a bit of mullein for tea, and this will last quite a while for me. All right, next I'll show you guys how I brew up the tea. Okay, here's the finished product. What I'll probably do is transfer this over to my vacuum sealed machine and suck all this down, pull all the air out of it. That way it'll stay longer, and I'll keep it in the freezer. Alexis and I have already gone through a gallon of this tea, so I'm going to show you how we make it. There's nothing to it. It's basically like any other tea that you would make, only we use these little stainless steel infusers. I'm probably going to make a little bit of a mess here, but that's okay. So I pack both sides, close up your little infuser, lock it in place like that. And I'm going to do 3 of these for a gallon. Now I've already got my kettle here. I'm going to put it on the stove and let it start whistling. Okay, that'll take just a few minutes for that to start singing. In the meantime, I'm going to fill up these other 2. Once that kettle starts whistling, then I'll simply turn the flame off and I'll drop these 3 infusers into the water and let it set for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, we should have some mullein tea. Okay, for sweetening, some people use honey, some people don't use anything. I personally use stevia. I just like stevia, but I go light on it where it just has just a very, very slight sweet taste to it, but not a whole lot. Okay, so all 3 are made up, and we're just waiting for that kettle to whistle. Okay, water's good and hot. Ooh. Careful when you take that lid off. That steam will wrap around there and get you. So I dropped my 3 in here. I don't know if it's necessary to bob them around a little bit, but sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Put the lid back on. So what I'll do is I'll let this set for 20 minutes anyways. I may go ahead and just let it set until it's cooled off completely, and then I'll transfer it over to the jug. All right. So I didn't have time to wait for this to cool down, so I went out on the lake with one of my buddies. Been out there for 8 hours. So I may be a little bit flush and sunburned looking. But anyways, the tea is definitely cooled down. So I'm going to add just a scoop of stevia. Stir that up a little bit. Then we're going to take our tea. Pour that in there. That'll leave me the stainless steel infusers to get out. I'll empty those in the trash can. Now, all I need to do is top this off. Alright, there's that. And then I have 1 gallon of mullein tea made. Now, overnight, this will turn a really pretty kind of amber color. That's what it'll look like after about a day. Alright, so pretty simple process in turning mullein, wild mullein plant, into tea. That's all there is to it. Hope you guys enjoyed that video, and also hope you got something out of it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. That was good. I did not drink near enough water out there on the lake.